The following podcast may contain spoilers.
Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. We've tried to record this once before, and we started having mechanical issues, and we were like, no, this book is too good.
Yeah, we did record this one.
We're gonna do this one freaking right.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
Hey, everybody. This is Treading the Path of the Heavens. I'm your host, Jonathan Kenny, joined with my two co-hosts.
This is Richard.
And this is Bill.
And I have designated myself the perennial guest, so I will not take offense that I am not co-host.
Yeah, no, that was
When you
my
start
intention.
reading the books, you'll be a host.
I mean, we don't really have fences, so don't take too many.
But I think honestly, if you do ever review a book, I'm just gonna have you be a guest host for that episode, and then from like the next episode, you'll continue to be perennial guest
No, I will be host, and you will all be guests.
No, he will
Perennial
be
guest.
semi-perennial.
and guest host Seth Thompson for this episode.
Oh my god.
Hi, I'm Seth. Also,
But this week we are talking about the incredible Shinsha novel by Argan,
Ergen.
I Shall Seal the Heavens.
I shall seal the heavens. Fun fact, guys, I started reading this. So I know this novel.
wait, you started reading this between the last time we tried to record this and now?
No, because last time we recorded, I had already begun reading it.
That's
further.
true. You know what? I don't remember much of the last time we recorded, which is going to make for a really nice recording right now.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to let it sit long enough that it got out of our memory so we could go fresh.
Yeah.
But I got to get into it because this book is incredible.
Expansive. It goes places.
I don't want to say it's my favorite Shinja novel because
said
like
that about
Coiling
another.
Dragon hits my heart in a special way. It presses my buttons. But I would say personally, in my estimation, it is the best written Shinja novel I've read.
It is quite the page turner. You can definitely sit down and really devour some pages of this very surprisingly long. It's way longer than I realized it was.
It is a very
What
long
was
series.
the chapter total? I think we talked about this a couple times.
There is a 1614 chapters.
That's a lot of chapters.
Yeah,
Chapters are quite long.
it is. And I think this series is about 20% longer than Coiling Dragon.
Wow.
Which, as I think we mentioned in the Coiling Dragon episode, is slightly longer than Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time if you're using average character to word translations.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, no, you feel it too. It definitely takes time.
Yeah, and that's important because this story, I think, much more than any of the other ones I've read, is about the Tao.
For those of you who have not listened to other episodes, that's the path.
No
the
way.
way-
It could mean a
or
lot
like-
of things.
It's
or like the,
mean,
it's hard to
sword.
say. It doesn't like saying that it is the way. That is a translation of it, but the Tao is by its very nature ephemeral. It is a type of thing that is. It is the invisible wind that we can only see by its effect on the trees. Like that I think is one of the most eloquent explanations for the Tao.
I like that.
Wuxia World has an entire page in their long page on their frequently asked questions part of their website that explains Tao. Just explains Tao, shows all of the Taiji diagrams and all of the understandings of the numerical significance of the Tao.
Yeah.
So I recommend checking that out, guys, because it'll help you with some of the basic understanding before you start to understand other people's Taos.
Sounds like I should have done that while I was reading any of these books I was supposed to read.
It helps you learn the way.
Don't worry, we're reinstating homework after this one.
Yep. Be prepared.
But no, seriously, guys, I can't. I got to get a little bit more passionate here, guys, because I can't describe to you how good this series is. This is one of the funniest Shinja novels I've read. Like Argan is incredible.
Do he does have some incredibly fine moments, and it's not just like a lump together. It is throughout. Like each book just is like 4 to 5 chapters of him training and then doing something hilarious. And
I can't even say like, or at least where I'm at. It's not even like 4 to 5 chapters of him training. It's him finding a way to get ahead over other people monetarily, and then taking that monetary value and then flash training himself up in like a time skip. All right, of him in a cave somewhere.
Spending money to gain cultivation resources because his broken item is really very, very broken.
Who's he giving money to in a cave?
Okay.
Before we get to that, because this is really important, let me explain the novel updates summary of I Shall Sail the Heavens. Okay? The description is, what I want, the heavens shall not lack. What I don't want had better not exist in the heavens. This is a story which originates between the 8th and 9th mountains, the world in which the strong prey upon the weak. My name is Meng Hao, the 9th generation demon sealer. I shall seal the heavens.
I mean, all of the like these are. I assume all of these are like basically essential. These are essentially the back of the box translations, or the back of the novel translations of like
the
this is
inside
what
of the dust flap.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that is an excellent one. That first sentence in that description is a description of Meng Hao's character. He is shameless. He is overbearing. If there's something he wants, it better exist, and if there's something that he doesn't, it better not.
you make sure of it.
Meng Hao, his Tao is the Tao of freedom, or maybe greed.
The freedom to
Freedom.
have everything.
Yeah, he's.
I would say mercantilism, but I guess.
Let's.
Oh my god, he's the
Free.
truest capitalist.
Let's talk about our main character here, Meng Hao. Meng Hao is the most shameless character I have read in a Shinshin novel.
That's saying a lot, I think, because you describe a lot of these characters as shameless.
I think it's a pretty key trope in the genre.
I mean, if 90% of the population of the books just continue to call him that, pretty sure like he takes the cake in that realm.
Yeah, we say that because it comes up in the translation all the time. Because he and his damn bashful smile have conned so many people out of way more money than it should have.
I mean, in his own words, he's doing God's work. I mean, he's saving lives. He's living a true, honest lifestyle, making money via peddling his wares. He's great.
Oh yeah, no, he's only here to help
Of course,
himself.
like a true scholar.
Yeah, and that is, in fact, Meng Hao's origins is he was a scholar living in the mortal world, trying to gain a position on an imperial court, and having failed on his third attempt, having gone into debt to do so.
Yeah, he's so like, and that debt follows him. He never wishes to go into debt with anyone else from then on.
Yeah, it's funny because the amount of money the amount of debt that he has that establishes his horrifying, terrifying need to acquire money is born out of this need of no money. He didn't have any money. He owed 12 silver, which in the scope of wealth in this story is immediately nothing.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's like pennies, like a half of a penny.
but he doesn't want to owe that at all.
But he learned his lesson as a mortal that he never wants to owe money.
Or even better, he wants everyone to owe him money.
That is the preferable state. Yeah.
He was so upset about owing money and needing to pay back money when he gets kidnapped at the beginning of the story to start this story. He's kind of looking at the monetary value of being kidnapped by an immortal.
Yeah, he's
I
like,
need to learn.
Yeah.
That's worth like this amount of gold.
Hey, and I won't have to pay the guy back. I'll probably never see him again.
Talk about a bright side.
Yeah.
So
no,
yeah, seriously, this story starts with our main character getting kidnapped by an immortal, mostly because he was standing in the wrong place and said, "Immortals don't exist."
Oh yeah,
Like-
dude, that scene is so good.
Womp womp.
Because like he sees a bunch of dudes. Okay, this is the way this stuff framed. I'm gonna frame this beginning of this story. This is
Sure.
this is Call Me Ishmael. This is the beginning. All right.
Yeah.
He is standing on a mountain overlooking this sick river down there on the side of this cliff. He throws a bottle into it that has like a wish or like some stuff in it about him, hoping someone sees it. He mentions that if I fall over here, there's like a 20% chance of me living. And then he sees some dudes in a crevasse hanging for their lives. He walks to him. He recognizes some people from his village or whatever, a couple of them, a couple of dudes he does not recognize. And he's like, "Hey, man, we'll help you." They need help. They're like, "We've been thrown here by an immortal." And he makes a joke like, "Immortals aren't real." And then he goes down there and then
Down comes a bitch on a flying sword, being
a
like, "Oh, I'm
flying
not
bitch.
real."
A flying sword bitch?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, just levitating sword. She flies in on, standing on the sword, being like, "What? I'm
Saying,
sorry,
"Oh, ho,
what?"
ho."
Welcome. You're now the next person to get chosen because you have some potential.
Come on down.
And puts him in like a giant bag.
And down he comes.
Yeah. They also focus on like this flying sword lady is also extremely attractive at the same time.
Oh,
Oh.
fairy like beauty.
Yeah, no, she's great. Ju King.
Can we have a running counter on our website whenever that exists that is characters described as having beauty that is fairy like?
No, because I can think of like 20 examples off the top of my head, and
No,
they're
that's
like, that's not
fine.
delving. I don't know. There's too many.
We
I
just
don't
have
wanna
to
do it.
I mean, I would like also I would on the flip side be like, we could count how many ugly characters there exist.
I can
And
think
there's
of,
just
like,
as many.
3.
I mean, yeah.
Well, no,
They
I
get
guess if we're
killed.
counting, no, there's the villains. for
Yeah,
sure.
they get killed.
Bodies.
But I don't know. They like to make villains real pretty too.
They just like pretty folks in their books.
It's true.
Ooh, yeah, that's
Well-
what happens when you become more pure.
I think it's because all the characters that are relevant in their stories all work out all the time.
They work out.
Remove impurities, work out. Got the best face cream in existence. It's called cultivation. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's the key of
Yeah,
the world.
It just pours out all those toxic sludge from your pores.
So no, so he gets kidnapped. He gets end up as like a cabin boy for the fucking Reliance sect, literally like chopping wood.
Oh yeah, Munghouse sucks on such a great level physically because he's always been poor. He hasn't eaten much, doesn't have much muscle, so there's no way he can chop down enough trees.
Are they like magic trees? Is it
No,
like
no,
magic
they're
wood?
normal trees. These are big trees, and you don't get to eat unless you cut down 10 a day.
Mm.
He can barely cut down one.
Yeah, do the whole thing where he chips around in a circle and then does it again and then like pushes it real hard or
Well, they also gave him a book that was like, if you do this thing, you can learn how to cultivate.
You can get to level 1. Good job.
In the Reliance sect.
And then you can join the actual sect if you can do this thing. And so he's like, fuck, I'm
Oh.
becoming immortal.
is this like outside member, inside member, like we've had in other books?
No, these aren't even out. These are servants. He's a servant right now.
I see.
He
He's
can
like-
earn the right to be an outer sect member.
He's an outer sect.
He
member.
is
It's
a
like
servant for
off-Broadway.
the outer sect.
I see. Okay, I just trying to relate it to other things that I don't even think that's in a book we have talked about. I think that might be from that what was that thousand rose petals fucking
Yeah, actually,
million miles to
the-
Korea.
I mean, the outer sect and inner sect disciples, they're a thing in everything we've covered.
no, absolutely,
But-
but like we haven't really talked about the outer sect,
Okay,
intersect aspects of
You
anything.
never want to be out. Okay. Being outer sect is better than being like a normal person,
All right,
right?
yes,
Outer
cool.
sect is like, hey, eventually people are going to come with us with a lot of cannon fodder, and we're going to need people to block the cannon fodder.
Outer sect equals mooks.
Yeah, intersect
Don't get
equals
me wrong,
like
it's a place to find people with potential, but much like in Shokugeki no Soma, 99% of outer sect disciples are stepping stones for the 1%
Like,
that rise to the inner
If
sect.
they
All right.
were, you see, being an outer sect guy isn't that bad because you get some say. People don't want to kill you unless your sect has problems with other people. Like, it's not bad being outer sect, but you'll forever be. It's like
Bottom of the totem pole.
It's like being just like a normal signee versus being an officer, you kind of want to be an officer. You always want to be an officer.
Yeah, you.
Well,
I mean, you want to come in as an enlisted man.
You don't want to be enlisted.
In this world, one strong person is more important than 100 people that aren't as strong as that person.
I mean, that's
Because
that
power
described everything.
Well, yeah, but power levels are such in this world that a person with a slight gap in power can basically kill the other person almost every time.
Like instantaneously, without any say whatsoever.
At the beginning of this story, almost every person in this world of the immortals could breathe funny at Meng Hao, and he would dissolve.
I say.
Yeah. Not even breathe at him. You can just look at him, actually.
Meng Hao just
Yeah.
a pile of paper mache.
No. Humans are a pile of paper mache.
I see.
Yeah, and we're stepping into a world where that's not enough anymore.
He's just a relatively weak human. So it's even more visceral and seeing his growth to the top.
But essentially, he gets tired of having to steal his food to survive. So he decides he's going to learn this cultivation to hurry up and get into the outer sect.
Which he genuinely succeeds. So hooray, promotion. He's now an outer sect member.
Woo!
I would like to put in one thing. He learns a very important lesson from his little sect book, which is that it's always important to have someone to rely upon, which he correctly learned at the lesson to be have someone bigger than you that can beat up the people around you.
Oh, not have someone to blame, because have someone to blame is a really good one too.
Well, he doesn't have people to blame so much as he frames people.
I see.
I mean, that's patriarch reliance. That's the way he would live. You gotta either be powerful enough to rely on yourself, but when you can't rely on yourself, you got to rely on other people that are stronger than you.
Did that guy change his name, or was he just born to be the patriarch
See,
to this really
Patriarch Reliance? That's just his Taoist name, right?
Yeah,
But he
his
was
Taoist
so
name is Reliance.
I forget we have Taoist
badass.
names.
Yeah.
He forced the sect was forced to change their name because they weren't originally the Reliance sect. They were forced to change their name to being the Reliance sect, named after Patriarch Reliance.
A notoriously greedy patriarch.
Oh yeah, that dude's a piece of garbage.
I gotta
but he's
read
great.
more of these
Crazy.
books. There are conventions of these books that I just completely forget sometimes. Like Dow names. How'd I forget Dow names?
Well, I mean, they
people
do-
have like nicknames that they get from a thing. Like we've described everybody with like nicknames like that, except for maybe in Coiling Dragon. It seemed like everybody just had a name.
yeah,
No,
even
no,
then,
Coiling
no.
Dragon.
it was whenever they became like they stopped being warriors and wizards and like went the next step. They get
Gotcha.
a name.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
they become like saints and stuff. But
Yeah.
Still, I just a thought, just a floaty thought. Is
It was
no-
really prevalent in
Desolate Era.
Desolate Era.
It
Gotcha.
was not when like you would even run into these people have the same Taoist names. Holy crap! You
Yeah.
guys should be cool with each other.
and they're not.
There can
Why
be
would
only
they
one.
be?
There was basically just like a certain point in your immortal cultivation path that it's be like, all right, at this point you pick your Tao name.
And if it's somebody else's, you got to go fuck them up.
No,
Nah.
Highlander rules.
You can't do. There's so many people that exist that that's impossible.
I'll be honest. Like, yeah, first off, what Richard just said, but second off, if you met someone with the same Tao name as you would probably get along with that person super well.
Or you can behead them and take their power.
We've discussed
Well,
this.
yeah, but
Highlander
if,
rules.
if you're fucking immortal praying mantis, then yeah, sure. But
Oh my
like,
God. I really
Wait,
want to watch Highlander.
no,
but
do
no.
praying mantises absorb other praying mantises' souls
I
when
hope
they
so.
decapitate
I mean,
their
don't you
mates?
see those little
If
like
you
lightning
give-
storms?
Like, okay, this is off, but now all I can think about is following a praying mantis develop a cultivation base and then rise into being god of the mantises. That sounds
Like,
incredible,
Well, no,
and I
it
want
would
it
be
actually
God of the
fighting-
Mantises.
Human-sized people.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It would be God of the Mantises, and then it would be good enough to be able to fight regular dudes until it becomes God of the Dudes. It's such a good mantis. It's the God of the Dudes.
no, guys, I'll do that in my story where I keep writing things from the perspective of the stepping stones of it, the real
I
hero.
really like the idea. Oh, that's a great one because you're like, oh wait, somebody's cultivating. Is this a mantis?
But Meng Hao, he finally. I don't want to skip the friends he makes. The one friend he makes.
Was he
In
one of
the-
the
in
hangy
the-
boys?
is one of the Hangy Boys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Hangy Boy that's not from. Why am I calling Hangy Boy? Oh,
Because I just called him that, and boy is a
Oh.
real
It's in
good
your mind.
It's a good word.
Boy's a fun
he
name.
calls him
Yeah.
Fatty for a long time. Okay?
Good old Lee Fugui.
No, he always calls
Yeah,
him Fatty.
you're right.
He is forever fatty.
Fatty is really cool in that Fatty won't stop crying because he comes from a really rich
That
parents.
doesn't
He has
sound cool.
like a
Oh,
no,
actually,
no.
in China, fatty doesn't really have like a negative connotation.
No,
like it's
the
not.
crying part.
No,
That
no,
Well,
doesn't
it's
no.
sound
not
like
that.
a
I
cool
just
guy.
actually wanted to make that as a generalization. Like fatty is not like a disrespectful nickname in at least in the writing of this. It may be in modern day China. I'm not.
I mean, I've been on Chinese boards of people talking, making fun of like people they really like, and then the nicknames they come up with are really insulting, but they're considered good names. It's weird.
But no, like I've Dolu Dalu, for instance, has a character that's nicknamed Fatty, and it's like it's not to say that it can't be used insultingly, but Fatty is also an affectionate nickname in a certain
Yeah, okay.
in a certain.
Oh, it's like
respect.
playing football and you're a big guy and you're starting to call you Bubba or big
Or tiny.
your name,
I
Yeah.
fucking
or
hate
tiny.
Bubba's.
It can
Just
have that connotation, essentially.
listen. If you're a Bubba out there and you're listening to this podcast, I feel very bad for the thing I'm about to say, but fuck every Bubba that has ever existed. I have never met a nice Bubba in my life. I'm sorry. We're continuing.
Bubba's burgers
That's how
are
my
so
little
good.
sister addresses me.
Well, fuck you, Bill.
Well, that's probably from Brother.
Well,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
but Fatty is really cool in that ignoring the crying he did because his life was actually pretty dope. This is a step down for him, like
Yeah,
super hard.
he was-
Oh,
This
that's
was
why
rich.
he's trying.
He's
Okay.
super rich.
like,
He has
I
a
was
super hot
pampered.
wife, like a fiance, super hot.
Didn't he have multiple hot wives?
No. He was dead. He was supposed to marry a super hot wife. A hot wife so hot that people want to take her from him to bed
Sure.
Yeah.
viciously.
But then he got kidnapped into this immortal world.
So he was right, like he was gonna control a bunch of shit, and
But
then he
he's
took it
not
from
now.
him. So now he's sad,
Yeah.
but it's cool because sleeping Fatty is unstoppable at this level.
He's a monster.
Yeah, he like unknowingly cultivates like creates eating cultivation where he just starts like cultivating the hardness and sharpness of his teeth.
Incredible.
He didn't know he was doing it because he was trying to learn the stuff to get to the outer sect, but he wasn't getting it, even though Meng Hao was doing it. Come to find out, some other stuff's going on. But in the first night, he's crying. He cries himself to sleep. Some big dude shows up, bristling with muscles. Like, he looks super impressive, but he's in Mooksville, so
Sure.
clearly he's not impressive.
Yeah.
And he's like, guys, well, you're new here, so you're going to cut my trees for me.
Yeah, you're gonna cut my
And
chin.
then you'll cut your trees after. And that's what's going to be, or I'm going to destroy you. And because Fatty was like gnawing on the wood, destroying tables and stuff while sleeping, talking about that's my chicken or something? What
Oh
was
no,
it?
he's eternally teething like
Yeah,
anything
he's-
in sight.
Yeah.
Just giant oral fixation.
So he's like, the big guy has like explains how Meng Hao functions. The big guy took your fiance and your food. So sleepwalking Fatty begins to attack him in his sleep.
With
bites
his
so
super sharp
hard.
teeth.
Bites so hard, the dude can't get him off, and he's like getting destroyed. And he's punching Fatty, but Fatty won't wake up. He's just gnawing on this dude. I will bite you to death, Fatty said.
Oh man, it'll kill you.
And then that guy then becomes their bitch for the rest of that time period.
You know,
there.
I said I didn't remember a lot of things from the last time we tried to do this, but I don't remember this guy at all. This guy
Yeah,
sounds
no,
fucking
I tried
great.
to keep bringing him up, but we kept moving on. Fatty is one of my favorites.
I just have to explain Fatty. Fatty, not only is Fatty a great guy, because you can depend on Fatty. Well, Meng Hao can depend on Fatty. Fatty can cut down trees.
Yeah, no, Fatty is the first of many characters in this series that Meng Hao becomes close with, that become an important person to the story because they are important to Meng Hao.
And like we don't lose touch with them. There's always a where are they now / what's going on with this guy? Or if there's an arc that's just running into them, they'll show up and just pal around.
It
for
may
a
be
bit.
3 or 4 books before we see it. It may be that they get an aside paragraph in the middle of a chapter where it's just talking about like he looked up into the clouds sensing something. But like they're a character that observes and comments and creates a foil for Meng Hao.
And like, as you see Meng Hao grow, you see their view of Meng Hao grow.
Fatty was like also one of the first to truly believe in Meng Hao, because though Meng Hao at first needs to rely on Fatty so he can live, because without Fatty, Meng Hao can't eat, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
But later, because of this focus in the beginning on reliance, Fatty can then rely on Meng Hao.
Well, even at the beginning, he relied on Meng Hao because Meng Hao knew how to cook. And,
Oh, yeah,
and Fatty
you're
was
right.
just like, "Oh man, you could cook chickens. You're my brother."
Oh yeah,
That's pretty much how this
pretty much
starts,
it.
yeah.
But later it becomes bigger reliance on Meng Hao. But it's an interesting relationship of people using people to later use themselves be used, and I think that's really interesting.
All right.
Yeah, Meng Hao he's the kind of person that Shinja novels describe as like repaying kindness by 10 times and repaying enmity by 10 times. Like, no matter how you treat Meng Hao, he's going to treat you in the same way. If you're the person that truly shows him kindness in a way that is meaningful, in a way that causes you to have to sacrifice something or actually put up something of worth, he's going to remember that and repay that, or at least do his damnedest to. A lot of the book is him being in incredible situations, and because he's in those situations, getting obligations with the people or the entities that rule over or exist in those places. And then they will help him or give him a legacy or push him along in his path. And then it may be 3 or 4 books later that he goes and actually fulfills that obligation, or in some cases, the entire series.
That sounds. I like that, like, concept echoing through the story like that. Like, you start by, like, the it sounds like the relationship with Fatty immediately goes, okay, look, here's 2 guys, and like this one's gonna help this one, and here's that paradigm. Okay, now let's play with that paradigm, and like, how are we going to, like, this guy's gonna help this guy, and then you're not gonna see it for a way fucking long time, but then this guy's gonna help this guy, but you know it's still coming because we set that paradigm up for you. And so, like, I like that concept a lot.
As far as I know, he like the author loves to like leave strings, and he just ties a bunch of strings like to the beginning, and he ties strings to those strings until it all wove back in on itself.
I mean, this is a book about karma. A lot of it is about karma, to the point where at a certain point, Meng Hao, the main character, actually begins to travel the path of karma, where he can affect the karma between things. At a certain point, he creates an ability to make people karmically owe him money.
Incredible.
It is incredible.
That's like, what's
It's grander than you think it is.
He just
actually.
decides, oh, you owe me money, by the way.
what's that JoJo stand, the guilt one? Does it work guilt based?
Oh, like the lock?
Yeah.
It's not guilt based.
No.
No. It's not. It's just like creating like one-sided karma. It's some bullshit. Much like many things.
You
that
owe
Meng Hao
me
has.
stuff because I deem it so.
Oh, I see. It's not even like guilt. It's just, this is how it is.
Yeah, it's that expression that we were talking about at the very beginning of, if there's something I want, the heavens better have it.
And if I don't want it,
It better
not
fucking
exist.
not exist.
This guy sounds like he gets his way one way or the
but
other.
guess what? That sounds super serious and imposing, but really, this is more of a comedy than I care to than we really touched on. Like,
Well-
he gets his main character item, and he's given to him by force out of some big practical joke by this asshole. Turn to find out, it's actually awesome, but it has this interesting side effect in the beginning, where when you point it at things that have fur or feathers, it makes their asses explode.
Just
It's
yeah, like
Pop
dead,
right
like
out.
not like hilariously, like, oh, we're shitting ourselves. Like, no, like bloody explosion. The animals die,
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we have no idea why this is happening. It just happens around animals with fur and feathers,
And,
which
like-
leads to a few hilarious plot points. There's one where a guy's like creating a challenge mountain where the sect decide like their 2 sects have like enmity. or not enmity, but like a playful rivalry.
Yeah, these two super swole dudes that are leaders of things are like, I made this mountain and put all of my treasures on it. And the other guy was like, my dudes are my treasures, and I've trained them, and they will conquer this.
He's like, if they could find the shit on the mountain,
They
they
can
could
keep
keep
it.
it. But all my deadly, super crazy experimental beasts are
He
on there.
spent years getting these crazy, like, monstrous beasts that could murder people.
I bet like most of them have fur and feathers though.
Oh,
Someone chases Meng Hao onto this mountain, and he proceeds to murder a path up this mountain to where all the treasure is.
Incredible.
People are like shocked, like, how is he doing this? He's weaker than us by like multiple levels.
He's
It
just
doesn't make
striding through
What is that
exploding.
spear? It's not a spear.
Yeah, no.
Faking it.
He made 3 spears before he walked in, a copper, a silver, and a gold one. He's just holding on to it and just holding a spear out as things
These
explode.
spears
Just
aren't
pointed at the
good
things and their butt
spears. He just
explodes.
points it, and underneath the sleeve is an actual protagonist item. And protagonist item has a hard on for feathers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he can't control it.
It
It will
wants
fly out and just murder things.
It just
Richard, I don't know how far you are in the story, but that is an incredibly apt description.
That's a super hard on.
yeah, man, like it wants it.
And like
It got that hunger.
And it is brutal because like the whole time this horrible stuff is happening, the two dudes are sitting up there and they're commenting on things and making fun of it, and the other one's making fun of him. He's, oh, you thought your dudes were nice. This is happening. And he was roasting him the whole time while all of his outer disciples are getting bodied and he's losing face. And then suddenly Meng Hao shows up and he's shitting on all of the monsters.
Every
So the
single
guy's roasting him. He's like, oh, remember that dude was like, oh, he runs forever? Yeah, he ran from forever the other way. It's a shame that he lost his leg from the explosion. You know, like, and the guy's like, I'm gonna go kill him. He's like, no, you can't. You stopped me, so I'm stopping you. We're gonna finish this Go game.
Yeah.
But here, to touch on Meng Hao's shamelessness, after this whole mountain adventure happens and he's taken most of the best treasures from the mountain.
Oh yeah.
He
the
left treasures? That doesn't sound like Meng
Well,
Hao.
I only say that because the other disciples were there and collecting treasures in the absence of the guardian monsters that he had killed. And you were correct, though. It doesn't sound like Meng Hao. He collected most of them.
Okay.
Good old legacy.
There's a part where he
collection.
literally takes the tile of the place that he's at.
It's like
God damn it.
He was-
that was a
he
very
was-
embarrassing laugh, but that got me.
he was upset. The place had just like, this is it? This is all you're gonna give me? I'm gonna take your tiles too.
Yeah, no. It wasn't not everything not nailed down. It was everything not nailed down and the shit that was nailed down.
Yeah, because tiles are pretty well cemented in. That's kind of their deal. Guess not. No.
If it has value, it is.
But yeah, so he stands there, he's got these magical spears. So he gets off the mountain, and the disciples from these two sects are running over to him because the sect masters are like, get that fucking spear. Whatever you do, like, you will get great rewards if you could bring me that spear back.
You'll get to be an inner disciple if you get me that spear.
And so these people are tripping over themselves. Like, they literally surround Meng Hao and won't let him move and are like threatening him with money.
And he doesn't want to sell. He's like, guys, this
He literally says this is worthless.
This is just an iron spear.
And
You
the
can
guy
have the spear though.
there's a dude who's actually high level looking at this, and he's like, "There's nothing magic with that spear," but he doesn't say anything. He's like, "Oh, it's pretty funny."
So, like, these the top level outer sect disciples of these sects are literally giving their entire life savings, borrowing money from the higher people around them, trying to outbid each other.
They gave, like, imagine you're a cultivator. You found a legacy. I risked my life. I got this. I can base my entire thing off this.
Sure.
And he's like, I'm gonna trade this and then get these dudes' legacies, and I'll pay them back and give them the Meng Hao for this worthless ass spear.
He's like, this is an iron spear, are you sure?
Like,
Are you certain?
this is pretty garbage, and they're like, nah, man, we want that.
Take this medicine. This medicine, you can only find it when the moon does this and the blah 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 does that.
Oh god.
It was an awesome scene. That spear later ends up inserted into a cliff as an eternal reminder about how bad they got conned.
Was there a little plaque that's like, don't trust Meng Hao?
No, they don't even need it. Everyone knows the story.
I see.
Every single one of those dudes that conned themselves. Meng Hao didn't even con them. They conned themselves.
True. They
They
threw themselves
swore
onto that spear.
oaths like, I'm gonna get strong and I'm gonna fucking kill Meng Hao.
He creates so much enmity.
just by sheerly being around.
But no, like sometime during that scene, the words "a bashful smile crept onto his face" happened.
Like you haven't read that recently, but you know for goddamn sure it's in there.
I know for sure it's in there because that bashful smile is one of the scariest things you can see. Like if that smile appears, you know someone is about to like have the shirt taken off of his back.
Or die?
No, it's
No.
usually not. No, it's almost never die when that smile shows up.
All right.
Yeah, no, people walk away with their life and little else.
People walk away wishing they had lost their lives.
Oh yeah, because this
would've
man
been
is a
easier.
con man. Because this man, he's not a con man. Because this man is a fine scholar,
He is absolutely a con man.
and a fine man of the people, and a good merchant. He'll pretend because he doesn't look like a cultivator should look. He looks swarthy and weak when he's actually ridiculous. So, like in the beginning, when he was an outer disciple, he's like, being this poor, I can't get enough cultivation materials to do stuff. So I'm gonna sell medicine, like medicinal herbs and pills to heal things and whatever, right?
Well, I think no, he hadn't figured out the mirror by that point.
If I'm trying to imagine someone
Had he?
swarthy,
Yeah, he had.
Yeah, so let's talk about this mirror because we've been alluding to it.
Mm.
This copper mirror that gets forced onto him.
Mm.
It's literally a mirror that if you put an item on it and money on it, they both get absorbed. And once you have put enough money on the item pops back out with an exact copy of it.
well, you get the okay.
He can copy things that there should only be one in the world of.
And now to describe this, a copper mirror is just like a circular copper dish.
Yeah.
As far as
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
aware.
it's rust. It looks like rusted. It looks like a piece of shit, but it's actually amazing. And he discovers it on mistake. Like some crazy shit went down, and he set some stuff near it, and then it disappeared. And he looked back, and it's like, there's another one here. What's going on? But he decides to exploit this because I can get all of these interesting medicines that can make me strong and copy it if I can get money. And because he needs money, he's like, what's the best way to make money? I could do what everyone else does and kill everyone. But
And
I'm a
just-
scholar. I don't want to kill.
It's not
Copy
right
shit?
to kill.
It's not right. It goes against everything I believe in. I'm gonna sell medicine. So he goes and gets all of the pills, all of the medicine that no one wants to buy.
Sure.
Not even a little bit.
They'll
Copies it.
buy one or two just in case.
Yeah, just
but
in
like
case.
that's all they need.
But he basically finds a way to reliance himself into getting that guy that works there at the the pill outlet or whatever.
the medicinal pill outlet.
And he was like, "You're only gonna sell this to me at a discount later." And he goes to where they kill each other, where they can just kill each other.
Yeah, the sect has like the zones for people in the lowest level of cultivation, the key condensation area. And in the first 3 levels of key condensation, of which there are 9 total.
So there's like a coliseum, like
It's,
sawdust.
No,
it's like a training
it's like-
forest or
It's
area.
like on
kind
a
of thing.
plateau where if you go past this line and you're between the ranks of 1 to 3, you can kill each other. If you're 4, you can't do that to people.
Yeah, but
Is
there's
it
like
is it like magic or are they
There's
no,
like-
no.
there's
There's
like
rules,
system?
or the sect will kill you.
Got it.
yeah, the
Got it.
higher ups will just punish you if you do it. And there are actually really strong people in the sect.
Yeah,
But yeah, he goes into this area for this 1 to 3 area, and basically using the money and stuff that he earns from the pills, he and his own hard effort, works his way up to the 3rd level condensation. But before he moves to the 4th,
he got to the very top of the 3rd level.
Like 3.9999.
yes,
yeah,
And he's like, I'm gonna make money here. So he makes a sign that says, the medicinal pill outlet, whatever.
Medicinal pill outlet.
yeah,
Yeah.
No,
And-
I think the first one
Well,
was
is
the
it
medicinal
medicinal
pill
pill?
pavilion.
Pavilion, and then he created like the pill pavilion outlet.
Yeah. And he's there, and he's like,
The pavilion. What are they
He-
doing over there in China with puns?
Pavilion.
I heard
It might
you.
have been there. It could have been lost in translation,
That's
but
which I
the
doubt.
people are
because
killing
that's
each other.
awesome.
He sees these 2 dudes about to kill each other, right? They're fighting, and one is about to lose, and he's like, fellow Taoist or whatever, if you buy my whatever bone pill or my bleeding pill, you'll get stronger, and you can be him and take all of his stuff, and you can
The
buy
chump.
mine for 1 to 1 spirit pill for 1 of these. He's like, the dude's like, this bullshit. I can buy 8 of those for 1 spirit pill.
And he's like, yeah, but if you had this right now, you'll win the fight, and then you can take all his money, and you'll be positive.
yeah, that's enough to buy the thing that I was talking about plus some. So
the
like,
guy-
Yeah, so it's a bad deal right now, but in the long term,
You'll get to live. You could just die.
yeah.
So the
Would
guy
you rather lose?
So the guy turns him down, but then he starts losing, like really losing. So he's like, all right, fine. So he buys it.
Grits his teeth.
He takes it, and he starts winning. So Meng Hao, ever the businessman, starts selling to the other guy.
Yeah, he just walks over to the other guy. He's like, dude, that guy just bought my medicine, and now he's kicking your ass. But if you had this pill, which I'm still selling for just 1 spirit stone, then you could turn it around because now his pill's already started to wear off. But he's just already has an advantage. So like, and the guy's like, fine, sure, whatever, I'll buy your pill. So then he buys the pill, and the other guy's like, hey, what the hell? And he's like,
I'm open for all,
man.
Yeah,
Like,
man. I'm just trying to save lives here. I'm worried that you guys are going to go too
Keep
far.
in mind, he's making himself look really shitty and weak. He's
Yes,
bowing down.
He's constantly humbling himself.
Humbling, looking weak. And he keeps doing this, and people are starting to get up. Like, he does this to everyone. And people start to get fed up. And one of the guys who thinks he's a real big tough guy, they explain to him like as a man's man, the toughest looking guy, badass, all this other shit, this, that, and the other. He shows up, he's like, I'm gonna take all your stuff, blah, and he punches at him. And then Meng Hao, the smile and the kowtow goes away. And he mercilessly beats the shit out this dude. Like,
How could you fight me? I'm just a lowly merchant. I just want to help people, and you would attack me? How dare you? This goes against all moral principles. This is terrible. As he's just like beating the fuck out of this guy.
He's literally jumping up and down on his body while saying this. And then the dude's like, fine, I'll buy it. He gets up.
Oh, you're gonna buy all my pills at 10 spirit stones a pop? You're so generous. And he's like, whoa, I thought it was 1. And he's like, oh, no.
We went up.
We went up in price.
And he picks him up. He goes back to being a nice merchant, dusting the shoe prints off his body.
Real sorry about that.
No, not really sorry about that. Like, I can't believe someone would do this to you. How are you?
We
Honored
should
customer.
find this man.
Shameless.
Shameless. That is a great way to describe this character, it sounds like.
And that becomes an interesting plot point later, which is what another thing I love about this, because everything has meaning in this.
Yeah, this is a story that has as much depth to me. Like the only story that I can think of that has as much depth and forethought in it is like One Piece. Like a story that, like, the more you see it, the more evident it becomes that the entire story was thought out before one word of it was written. Like, as you read more of I Shall Seal the Heavens, you keep having this moment where you're like, oh. And it was great reading this story as it was coming out being translated. Because Deathblade, an incredible translator, by the way. He started doing this, I think, to learn how to translate Chinese, or like to improve his Chinese. But he's married to a native-born Chinese, and she was able to always like help him if he got stuck. So he was just a workhorse. He would put out like 14 or 16 chapters in a week.
Oh, that reminds me that he's working on A Will Eternal, which also takes place in the same universe.
Yeah,
I like
it's
the cross universe stories.
As I Shall Seal the Heavens, which blows my mind because I Shall Seal the Heavens is part of a bigger universe, which is crazy to me because it's so involved so far.
Yeah,
So
it's incredibly expansive.
Yeah, I know. Renegade Immortal, I'm pretty sure, is another novel that's in the same universe. And
Wait a second. When they talked about between the 8th and the 9th mountains, did these happen on other mountains? Between other mountains?
No. The mountain and seas are pretty much. They like the mountains and seas might be referenced in another thing, but it's a thing that's pretty focal for I Shall Seal the Heavens.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
the mountains and seas have like most other things in this story, just a far deeper and far-reaching meaning.
I see.
what they did to get me, and dear listener, please listen to them because I'm gonna get them to tell you this story, because you can say a lot of one-off stuff about this book, and we've only really covered stuff in the first book in the very beginning.
Yeah, like the first half of the first book.
But they told me stuff that blew my freaking mind and made me go, I gotta read this. And it was something about him spending some time as an ocean.
Oh yeah. It's just you could casually drop. Oh yeah, and there was that century that he spent as an ocean.
He was an ocean longer than he was anything else prior to being an ocean.
Yeah, he spent the majority of his life is an ocean for a little while.
Is becoming an ocean a thing that happens to one willingly, or
Oh yeah, he chose to become an ocean.
Okay.
I thought it was like a euphemism. Is that like
No,
he
no,
felt
no.
like an ocean?
He
But
literally becomes an
I,
ocean.
I
became
thought
an
it was an
ocean.
accident that just sort of worked out.
I thought it was like a witch's curse. I don't know.
No, it was his attempt to accomplish a thing.
Ah, I see. I remember now.
A
Yeah.
witch kissed me and I turned into an ocean. Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh god.
Well,
it's
it wasn't
ocean.
just an ocean. It was a violet ocean of death, essentially.
What the fuck?
A
Yeah.
murder ocean?
A
You
murder
didn't say
ocean.
murder
Yeah,
ocean.
it's like
That's a
an-
different thing.
It's like anti-life water.
Like the whole time they told me
Aesop.
about a bunch of crazy stuff, right? Like about becoming an ocean or
E-boss.
promising to turn like a lake into a river into a sea or something.
Yeah,
And-
there's a time where he's like, "Oh, you're a guy, but you wanted to be a sea. Well, I'll make you into a sea someday, I promise. Now, because you've helped me." Like they gave him some like advice, and he's like, "Shit, that was super profound. That really helped me along. What can I do for you?" He's like, "Well, I've always wanted to be a sea." He's like, "I'm gonna make you a sea one day."
What were these things that people was that a ridiculous fucking statement that a man said to him? Like, hey, I always had a dream
This
about
was
being
actually-
an ocean. like
I thought it was like a lake spirit.
It might have been I think it was. It was like guiding Tri-Rain.
all right. That feels way better. I just thought he like met some random peasant that was like, "Sup, dude? Here's some really
some crazy man on
things."
the street begging for money. He's like, I want to be an ocean. I want to be a sea. I'm
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
dude, yeah, I got you.
He's just like humoring a schizophrenic man who wants to be an ocean.
No,
Yeah.
but this is what this story is about. Like, you can read one book and you're in the next book, and they are almost two completely different stories, but they are so interconnected and they are so both important, and they are.
People he defeat sometimes, like if he doesn't kill them, will just show back up and have to fight him again.
Or become a friend because like the hundreds of years have passed, and instead of them being two people from different sects, they're both people from the same country that is now fighting a bigger, higher war that has kind of superseded all these past feelings and,
Oh, shit.
and
I always
tied all
like
that
the zoom
karma.
outs. So it's like here, and then it's like whoop,
Yeah.
and then
that
it's
is
here,
exactly
and it's like, whoop,
what the story
and then
is
it's here,
yeah.
and then it's whoop. Yeah.
That story, I mean,
They
that
couldn't
is
see
that is
happen.
inherently what cultivation stories are about, because cultivation is, as you cultivate, you're rising higher and higher, and as you're rising higher and higher, your viewpoint becomes larger and larger. You start to see the secrets of the world that only the people with real influence actually get to learn. And then you become stronger again, and you learn that all the people that you thought were so mysterious and profound were just jobbers working for the person that's one level higher. And those are the people who have answers. But then you find out that no, they don't even know what they're doing. They're being manipulated by a person that's one level higher. They think they're going after this one treasure or something that's going to change the destiny of their sect. They have no idea that they're falling under the machinations of one other. And it's this great thing. And Meng Hao is not always a reliable narrator. There are a lot of times where Meng Hao will figure out a thing and he's like, oh, okay. And then he'll just go and start resolving a situation. So there's a lot of situations where he'll walk into an event and say something, and you're like, "Oh shit, some shit's about to go down." And you don't know how it's going to resolve because there's information Meng Hao knows that you do not know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he withholds information from you, but not for too long.
Well, yeah, it's never for a long period of time, but it's always because Argan is an incredible writer, and like I don't know if we've talked about this enough. That is what the strength of this story is. It's not all these things we're saying are really cool, and I like the stories we're talking about. Like those are funny stories, and they are not rare. Those,
No.
like I said, those were both within the first half of the first book. You were constantly laughing when you were reading the
Oh, yeah.
story, but at the same time, in the next chapter, you can feel genuine sadness or
profound hate or anger or embarrassment, and you can feel these different emotions all within the first book.
Okay.
like the Ergen's writing is incredibly evocative. The reason I said this book is about the Tao is not because it's a book that's literally trying to expound on Taoism or talk about Taoism. It's because when I read this book, my mind understands walking a path, taking a journey, the things like cultivation novels are an exposition on the Tao. Like they just are, because what they're about is walking someone's Tao. Like, you reading this story, experiencing the things that they experience, it gives you an insight into the path that they walk, their Tao.
Now, he says this, and yes, this is all true, except there are times where it's really hard to translate because it's also esoteric because it's just ideas. So a lot of the fights end up becoming picture battles. Like, is my giant picture bigger than your giant picture? And then, like, I have a giant picture of a horse. Well, sucks to be you. I have a giant picture of the night sky with these constellations.
See, where I'm at, the battles haven't got to that level of esoteric yet. I'm at the point where he fights people with money.
Wait, I'm sorry. Money fighting sounds cool and all, but fighting someone with the concept of a horse versus the concept of the night sky,
Or the concept of mountains.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
but
like-
that's Tao.
Yeah.
But no, and what Bill is saying is true. There is a point where it kind of devolves into giant picture fighting. But what Bill hasn't finished the story, that too is just one step upon this path that is Meng Hao's journey, Meng Hao's Tao.
Yeah. Like, he goes through so many names. Like, at first he's a scholar, then he's like a servant, then he's an outer sect disciple, then he's a merchant. Like,
Then he's an ocean. Then he's a demon.
then
Then he's a Pokemon master.
Oh God, we can't get into the Pokemon Master part tonight. I don't think.
No. He became a Pokemon master by out bragging all the Pokemon master clans.
and then it was just
He
better
showed
at-
up and he was like, I am way better at posturing than you all. There's one person that he basically allows to become a disciple because he's impressed at how good he is at ass kissing.
Seems like a necessary part of your organization.
That's
Like,
an interesting path to walk. The art of brown nosing.
But no, there is
That is my way.
there
way
is
of that.
too much to say about I Shall Seal the Heavens because it is an expansive, epic novel that is incredibly written, incredibly consistent, and has an incredibly satisfying ending.
Because
Like,
this is completely finished, guys.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can sit down and
This
read
is
this.
is what, our second book or third book that is completely done.
I
yeah,
think it's
that
the
is
third one.
yeah. I think
Third?
it's
We had Coiling Dragon. We
Tate
had
no
this,
Yusha.
and Tate no Yusha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, this is just it's fairly recently that the translation finished, the last like 3 or 4 months, I believe.
Yeah.
But it's just an incredible book. It's one of, I want to use the word perfect to describe it.
But you're
Nah,
not.
it transcends that. It takes perfect and goes the step further.
I just like the fact that if I'm having a bad day, I can sit down and I can read a couple chapters of this hilarious novel and feel a range of emotion. Most of it joy, because I'm literally can sometimes be crying from laughing from some of the things going on.
I'm
Yeah,
so
I
sorry,
have,
Richard.
there have been times where I've had to set down my tablet or whatever I'm reading on to just like laugh for a while.
Like,
Well, yeah,
it's
no, I
so
can't. I
good.
can't read. I have to wipe the tears away from my eyes.
I've been around for those moments, and it has spooked me a couple times because Kenny and I will just be sitting in a quiet room, and I'll be doing something on my phone, and Kenny will be quietly reading, and then he'll just go ha! And put his like tablet down for a second, and I'll look over and be like, "What?" And he's like, "Just really
Here, let
funny."
me
And I'm
tell
like,
you 20 minutes of context so I can
Yeah.
explain why this story is funny.
Yeah, he's never explained them, which he's like, you just gotta read this book, man. Like, so
No,
yeah.
but for serious, Richard, I am so sorry that you. Well, no, keep finding all the stuff around you funny, but please make it to where you find Lord Fifth.
Yeah, please meet Lord Fifth and Lord Third.
Oh, they're like
Lord's-
they're the shining jewels of like. Sometimes they leave, and the story's just slightly less funny.
Yeah, it's like how in Buffy, when Anthony Stewart Head isn't like actually an active member of the cast, and the thing like becomes a gray, dull.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
like
Yeah,
as soon
no,
as they
it's-
show up, they remind you what color is, and then when they leave, they take it with them.
Believe in Lord Fifth. Gain eternal life.
All right.
When Lord Fifth appears, who dares call strike?
I want to get this joke.
You
I gotta
do.
read more.
did the translator rhyme that, or is that you guys?
Well, it's probably the translator rhyming it, but it's coming from the Chinese. It was a similar joke in Chinese. This is another one of those books that we've talked about where the translator and the author were in communication.
I love that
In
concept so much.
cahoots.
So he definitely got communication on how to proceed and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, they talked about how to translate the book,
Sure.
And the Deathblade and Ergen feel similarly in that translation should capture the emotion of the series rather than the literal word. And Deathblade did an incredible job of capturing those emotions. Like, emotion is what I Shall Seal the Heavens is about.
That's the difference between like a good translation and a good translator versus a bad one or a machine translator. It's not about getting the right word for word translation. It's about proper interpretation and how to convey it.
Right.
This is why, like,
Well, because it's like this is prose.
this
Prose
is this
isn't-
is this is
Yeah.
a translator's like. Comes a point where you're translating an original work, and you put so much of your personal talent into your translated work that it becomes kind of like criminal to have someone claim that work as someone else's, which is a problem that you see that happens sometimes in the novel translation
Well, like
area.
when I was doing research to put up the information for the episode for Tate no Yusha, I guess.
Yeah.
I it seemed like there were two distinctly different translations for the first chunk of it. One that was like a not necessarily a fan only translation, but one that was like a web translation, and then one that was done officially as like the book. Right? Am I
much.
misunderstanding the
There
situation?
was a web novel translation
Yeah.
for it that had gone like kind of like what we're reading, like the translation of a web novel. Then it got picked up to be a light novel, and the guy rewrote it, so it got officially picked up. So the light novel is being released.
So there's like a guy who put or a team of guys or whatever that put hours and hours of work into the first couple chapters of that to
No.
translate it, and that's just gone to the world now.
Pretty much, there's guys who put hours and hours of work to translate the entire completed web novel that can no longer be shared really anymore because the official one got picked up.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, we're not trying to step the community. I think is very
They're
good about not trying to
understanding
step on
about
authors' toes.
about
Yeah.
stepping on the author's toes. The only problem is the reason why the first parts of that kind of need to be taken down because the first 5 volumes of the light novel basically the same as the web novel, so you kind of becomes kind of a thing, and then it kind of diverges at the 5th novel floor. So you can leave the
Gotcha.
rest of that up because it's different.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Actually.
So support the official release, like everything. If you can buy it,
Yeah,
go and buy it.
Absolutely. My thought process just being like it sounds like the translated versions of things gets their own flavor, and it's sounds like you said almost criminal to have someone
It does
put all
hurt.
their flavor into a thing and then it's gone.
Gone
not-
or stolen or something awful.
Well, not only that, like if you're translating it, like you might not be getting the cultural relevance because it just might not mean as much.
That's
to
true.
you.
That's
So,
a
like,
fair point.
Having the author himself mentor you just allows you to always know what's relevant and what you need to focus on.
Yeah, I think the thing that I was trying to back my way into was that it sounds like books that are a situation like you guys have described where the author is in conjunction with the translator, that things like what I described that happened to Tate no Yusha won't happen.
Yes.
Because the
Yeah, it's less
author,
likely.
100%.
Yeah.
like even if the author decides like, okay, yeah, we're gonna release this, like he knows a guy who already translated it and it's translated how he wants it translated, so we're just gonna use this.
Yeah.
Like that warms my heart. Like
But no, this was like a very special novel to me. Like I had started reading novels on Ushio World during the pretty early parts of Coiling Dragon. And this novel started being translated on it, and my friend started reading it. He recommended it to me. So I started reading this like around chapter 30 or 40 in the translation.
Oh man.
And I was following it day to day until it was finished.
that sounds very satisfying.
Oh, it was an incredible journey. And like, have you been to the top of the mountain or seen one of the natural wonders of the world, like the Grand Canyon or something, where you just stand at it and life seems to make more sense? Or like you feel like you're an inch from grasping something bigger about the world. That's the feeling I get when I read I Shall Seal the Heavens.
That sounds like a couple of the drugs that I do. But if I Shall Seal the Heavens is very close to a psychedelic trip for you, then I am going to have to read I Shall Seal the Heavens.
I don't think you'd be disappointed. Like,
I think you'd be hooked by probably the first first quarter of the first book.
Well, we said we were reinstating homework, so I guess that is my homework for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you put in 25, you'd probably
All right.
feel pretty good about this.
It's-
Yeah, the first book I think is about 100,
That's 95.
95.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that puts
Okay.
you in a good spot.
You'll get to about 25 chapters. You're like, I gotta keep going.
Yeah.
He's exploding asses. I gotta keep going.
But I can't recommend this series enough. If you haven't read it, go read it. Like honestly, I got to the last maybe 30 or 40 chapters, and I had to stop reading the series for a while because thinking about I Shall Seal the Heavens ending was starting to emotionally hurt me. Like I was getting anxiety about the series being over.
I didn't listen to the last 30. I fell asleep listening to the last 45 minutes of the Adventure Zone and the last episode of the Adventure Zone, and I still have not gone back and listened to the last like 30 minutes very, very carefully, and I can't bring myself to for exactly that. Like thinking about, I know, I know what happens, and I remember it even though I was falling asleep, but I have not gone back and like I can't make myself do that. I can't tread that
path.
Uh,
Should tread that
dick.
path, man.
But I mean, honestly, like even the name of our podcast, in no small part, is an homage to this series.
Absolutely.
When we were getting inspiration for this series and that bold declaration of I shall seal the heavens. By the way, the first time that gets said in the book, and the first time that happens is fucking amazing.
when he seals heavens, or when he says
When he says I shall seal the heavens, just belligerently like yelling at the heavens, like, hey, heavens, fuck you. I shall seal the heavens.
you gonna get sealed.
Come get your seals.
Oh.
I guess, listener, you can probably tell by the length of this episode how important this novel is to our main host here. Like, I am still kind of at the beginning where I'm like 3 or 4 books in, and it's incredible. I'm enjoying every ride. I can only imagine reading something like this day to day. That sounds crazy.
It was also a great thing. There's a the author or the translator would post memes in every like chapter, like in the chapter previews. So that's one of the reasons I would follow it day to day, is because like as we got to he would give like a small blurb, like a paragraph or two from the next chapter each day, and he would put like a meme about the last chapter, and they were hilarious. And there's actually, if you look on the I Shall Seal the Weapon, I Shall Seal the Heavens index.
Ooh, should have named their website. I shall see
The weapons, yeah.
There's actually a link to the meme archives that you can go back and look at all of them. And if you've read the story, you'll be able to follow what's happening in the memes. They are hilarious. It was a great time.
Or conversely, as you're reading it, look up the memes for the
That one's a little bit more difficult because like it's posted in like reverse order. So the ones at the beginning of the thread,
I think it's worth doing, because I did that when I read Cooling Dragon, where I got to relish in all of the chapter memes that would come out, even like the fake chapters with Heiru flashing out and becoming a guy.
oh god, that was so unfair. I read that not on April Fool's. Like it just it was an April Fool's joke that I caught in like August. No.
It's a good time getting in on all of these.
No, it wasn't August. It was a few days after April Fool's because I was behind a couple days.
But yeah, no, like Richard's right. It has gone on long, and this is a really like, even to me, I'm like 2/3 of the way through. I had to put it down to like, ugh, it was an intense moment.
Sometimes you got to take a break. Like I Shall Seal the Heavens, you could marathon. Sometimes you got to take a break. But definitely, I say finish it. I say pick it up. Read the first 25 chapters, like our man here, our perennial guest, is gonna do. And if you're not hooked, which I doubt you won't be, don't keep going. But you're probably gonna continue.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible ride.
Sounds it. And I will have a report for the first 25 chapters by the time we get back.
I like it a lot.
All right. Man, we didn't even get to like the idea of him being a legacy collector.
I mean,
yeah, dude, if there's a legacy in the journal area, like
it's Monkhouse.
It's Monkhouse.
But I think we need to bring this to a close here. What are we going to cover next week? I think it's Japanese next week, or is it Korean next week?
I think next one was going to be Japanese. I think we were talking about Kumo desu ka?
Kumo desu ga. Let's go about that one. Kumo desu ga is a really fun novel. I recommend reading it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Another one I haven't read. I'm going to pick a few chapters up before we
Please
start.
do.
I would like to mention that I am working on a project for this very podcast, and in the far future, you will all be subject to my project.
Cool.
Subject to the project.
I think he learned to
Subject to the
read and he
project.
wants to show it to us.
Oh, jeez.
That's mostly accurate.
Oh man, I was gonna say hurtful, but okay.
All right,
sure.
guys. Well, thank you so much for listening to us talk about things that we love.
Dude,
If you enjoyed the podcast, please review us on iTunes. It helps us get more visibility and would definitely help us get the word out about these great novels that I love and that probably you love to more people.
This is a pretty small community, so like tell the people that you also know in this community about this podcast, or like, whatever. Don't listen to me. Don't let me tell you what to do.
Maybe you have a coworker or a friend who you've always wanted to read with these novels and they never get around to it.
Yeah.
Maybe our excitement will get them to check it out.
Yeah, just pick an episode of. Eventually, we'll cover the book you want them to read. So
For sure.
give them
Or
that episode and see if it gets them interested.
Suggest us the book that you want us to read.
Yeah,
to tell
no,
your
if-
friend about.
If you've got a book that you think would be awesome for us to review, let us know.
You can send that to just our network email right now, tiger.rollercoaster@gmail.com, and entitle it "Treading the Path of Heaven" book, and
We'll get on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be happy to see that. You'll get a personal response from me.
let
And
us
what's
know.
what's the email address again?
tiger.rollercoaster@gmail.com.
Yeah, we might even read your recommendation.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Might.
But no, that would be
Pure
great.
mail.
I would love to read a recommendation before we started talking about a book. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll get back to you next time with Kumo desu ka? Peace.
We'll miss you.
Tiger Roller Coaster Productions. Tigers are scary. You try to get off.